Did you know that over 80% of entrepreneurs don't have a lead generation strategy? So you ask yourself, why am I not making money? That's why. And that's why we have Krystal here today. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself, why this topic matters to her, and why it really should matter to you. Krystal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Shauna. Hi, everyone. I'm Krystal Vernee, and I'm a serial entrepreneur, speaker, author, business coach, and a brand strategist. And I teach entrepreneurs how to create consistent income. So within that 90-day time span, 10K plus months, through monetizing their expertise.
Beautiful. So, I know why, based on what you just said, lead generation matters to you. But let's dive into that a little bit more. Why don't you tell everybody why lead gen is such a huge focus for you and what you do?
Yeah, so you open with the stat of over 80% of entrepreneurs not having an effective lead generation strategy. I think what it is that most entrepreneurs know that they need to generate leads, or let's even back it up a little bit further. What do we consider to be a lead? I think that is also a misconception in many industries. So, a lead is someone who has basically raised their hand and said they want to hear more from you, and they've opted in onto a platform that you own. So I like to add that caveat because a lot of emphasis is put on building up your social media following, and that's it. And that's where the buck stops, and it actually doesn't. And that's why a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with revenue, because they're so focused on social media versus actually revenue generating activities. So, getting new people into your ecosystem on a consistent basis and then moving them through your sales process is of the utmost importance. That is how you create consistent income and continuity in your business.
I think that's a really clear distinction that you just made there. And I'd like to put names to it. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. But you've got something called an audience and you've got something called a lead.
Yes.
So building up your audience is very different from building up your a lead pool,
Yes.
so to speak. So let's talk about that difference and then why it's
Mhm.
important to have both, but then also to convert, because every stage in your sales process is a conversion opportunity. So converting the audience into leads when it makes sense to do so, because sometimes it doesn't.
Right, absolutely. So if we think about it in terms of, let's go with shapes. So if your audience is a big circle, right, the people that you have identified that you would like to sell your product or your service to, your audience is going to be a larger circle. Within that circle are going to be your pool of leads, and that's the first distinction, the first conversion. People We want people to pay us with their information first before they pay us with their money, because that means there's some interest in what we have to offer. So if that person says, hey, I'm joining Shauna's email list, or I'm going to, join her text list, or what have you, or even maybe make a entry level purchase just to see what her product or service is more about, I'm interested. And so then that for me is really when the sales process begins. So that's the first conversion. You want to move them along different points. Usually, most entrepreneurs have a premium product, a primary offer, a hero product. So this is going to be the ultimate action that you want your ideal clients to take. This is where you're driving them to. And so all roads should lead to that premium product. Not everybody's going to be a great fit, but that's where you're driving them to. And I know I started with a circle, but that's really the basis behind your like sales funnel. What a sales funnel looks like. Still circular, right? Wide at the top, but narrow at the bottom. So less people are going to make it out of the bottom of the funnel. Less people are going to be inside your circle that actually make a purchase. And so that's what that looks like.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense, right? Because you want to be able to pre-qualify the people who ultimately get your hero product or service. You want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that they're the greatest fit, that you can actually provide them with the transformation they are seeking. And you want them to have raised their hand, saying yes enough times for them to be serious about taking the journey that will lead them through that transformation. I'm a pretty big advocate of the story brand model. And so in that idea, you're looking at this is their like the MO, right? The client is the hero of their own story, not you.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be the one saying yes. And you need to be the one giving them the path as a guide
Yes.
to their ultimate transformation.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that's that lead that's your lead gen. That's not considering your audience building as the ultimate, oh well, once I've got 1 million followers, well then I'm just going to make money. No. You need to have these different steps in place, a pipeline or a funnel that allows them to self-qualify for whatever it is that you have to offer.
Absolutely. And I think as the expert of whatever it is that you're selling, you're going to know the best path, or you should have outlined the best path for that person to take, depending on where they are in their journey. And so that's where the suggestion or the next steps come in your funnel. It's like, what do I say? Well, you know what they should do next, right? Like you have gone through usually the transformation that you're trying to provide, you've already gone through those steps. And so those people should be walking in your footsteps to be able to get to the same end destination, that same end goal. Why would you try to walk them through something different, something that you never did, something that you don't know how to do? And so therefore, you're not going to really be able to execute that transformation. So making sure that you have outlined the optimal or the best path to achieve the best results is going to be critical, not only in you actually being able to convert at every level, but also for your client's satisfaction and retention.
Oh, all of those are powerful words. Powerful. And I want to go back to you saying converting at every section, because we see a lot of people who have a pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I like to say when I'm talking to somebody about their pipeline, their sales pipeline or sales funnel, however you'd like to term, I like to say we need to audit it or take a closer look at it to find any clogs or gaps.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, some people like the visual is really easy for people. This is why I say clogs and gaps, right? Clogs are typically when you're over nurturing and they're not able, because you haven't provided them with the options to move forward.
Yep.
Gaps is when you've sold too soon, when you've
Yep.
asked for a conversion too soon. And so they can't make the leap with you. And so we want to make sure that we're making the right choices. But how do you know? How do you know there's a clog or a gap? How do you know how to fix it? Well, that's where, for some of us, we don't like this word. It's a bad word, but it's actually really helpful. It starts with an M. Math. That's where that comes in. And you know all about that because this is your thing.
Yeah. So I have something called lead generation math that I like to go over with my clients. And it's usually, there's always the groan. Like, what? I thought I left that behind. As an entrepreneur, math never leaves you. But for lead generation math, understanding it is critical. And I even say understanding it for your own business is even more critical. So usually in the online space, let's just say, usually the average closing percentage for an entrepreneur is about 15%, meaning you close about 15% of your sales in the early stages. So let's say 1 to 3 years even. Like that's probably what it's going to be. If you're selling high ticket, it's about 10% conversion. Doesn't mean that you will be at this rate forever. It just means as someone who's trying to get their footing and get their income more consistent, that's typical statistics for the industry. Now, what does that mean? That means that you're going to have to have a little bit more leads in your pipeline in order to be able to see the success you want and also be priced at a level that's going to allow you to be able to be profitable. So price for profit is going to be something that's also essential. So let's just say our product is $5,000. Your hero product doesn't mean you don't have anything else, which that's a whole other conversation, but a whole other issue. But let's say your premium product or your hero product is priced at $5,000. So that's high ticket. We close about 10%. Now, what happens if you get 5 leads a month.
Can anybody do the math real quick?
It's 0. It's point something clients, and we can't have point something of a client. So we got 0. Now, usually when you're selling at that level, you're most likely doing sales calls. So we'll just even give you a generous amount and saying that you're gonna book 50% of those calls, right? So let's bump it up to like 25, right? And so now we have, let's say we booked about 12 to 13 calls with that 50%. So we got 25 leads, and these are people, not followers, people who have opted into the platform that we own, right? So they are on our email list or our text.
They've said yes already in some capacity.
We got them on a sales call. And so now we do our 10% on that. That's like 1 point something clients. Some people round up, I round down. So you have 1 client, 5,000, right? You've made some money this month. Okay, great. What happens when we bump our number of leads up to 50, right? So we go bump up to 50 and we do 50% of those sales calls. That's like about 25 calls, right? We close 3.75 clients and we get 3 clients, and now we're at the 15K mark. So the moral of the story is that the more qualified leads you can get into your pipeline, the better your chances of actually closing or converting those leads into clients and producing income. But if you're only getting 2, 3 less, leads a month, you're not even giving yourself the opportunity to be able to be profitable.
Right.
So I think that's something to think about, where entrepreneurs don't set themselves up for success in the beginning with that, because they're like, oh, just talk to some people, and you don't know how many people you need to see. So that way you could even structure what you're doing to facilitate that, to facilitate getting more leads in your pipeline. So
Absolutely. Especially in that 1 to 3 year. Like, the thing that I'm always preaching is talk to people.
Yeah.
Talk to people. The next step, talk to specific people.
Yes.
Right. You always have to have a purpose for talking to people. Like, just hopping on a coffee chat is fine.
Yeah.
But you need to have a specific outcome in mind in order to understand what role they play in your pipeline. Because sometimes your pipeline might include collaboratory conversations.
Absolutely.
You and I, we hop on a call and we say, hey, I've got a podcast. You should totally be on it. This would be great. This is a great topic for my audience. We can collaborate and create something beautiful. That's a really productive conversation.
Absolutely.
You've got somebody who also maybe they have a platform for you to speak on. Great conversation.
Yes.
Maybe they're actually a really great lead. Whoo, that's nice. That's spicy. That conversation turns into a sales call real quick. If you're wise about it, if you understand the sales process.
Exactly.
And if you have systems that support that, because having that many calls can very quickly lead to burnout.
Yes.
If you're also doing all of the rest of the things.
Yes.
And anyone who's been around me for long enough knows that I am very staunch advocate for mental health, and burnout is a really big problem for entrepreneurs, for everybody in today's age, but for entrepreneurs who are carrying so many things, who are juggling so many things. And so having these systems in place for your marketing, for your sales pipeline, for your lead generation, all of that makes a huge difference in your mental load and in your ability to execute on the plan, on the strategy, healthily. So
Yes.
I need to ask you, as the lead gen expert, what kind of systems make sense for entrepreneurs within the first 1 to 3 to maybe even 5 years of exploring what it looks like to generate leads? What are the best systems for them to invest in? And when I say invest, I mean time, money, and energy.
Yeah.
In order for them to streamline the process.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I have a tech background. So I'm an engineer. That's what my degree is in. And there is a huge debate about this that I see across the industry. And because I have multiple businesses, I'm speaking from a place of, I wouldn't have been able to do this in my other business had I not had this in place. And so,
Right.
For me, the online space is the second place I've chosen to build a business. So coming from the brick and mortar space and then stepping into this world, I see a lot of talk about people not needing a CRM or a customer relationship management system.
Okay.
And I know that sparks a lot of debate about like, you don't
Mm-hmm.
need fancy CRM. I'm not saying you need the most expensive. That's not what I said.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think you need a CRM. And here's why. The landscape of marketing and sales has changed, and it will continue to evolve. And so if you think about it, let's rewind maybe 10 years ago. A lot of people did not have a CRM. They didn't have the fancy bots and automation, AI, things that we're using today, in order to be able, different tools we can plug in and be more efficient in our business. So you not needing a CRM from 10 years, like from 10 year ago advice. Sure, they didn't need that back then. There
Mm-hmm.
wasn't as much competition. The marketplace wasn't as noisy. If you think about it today, and you're entering the place as a new entrepreneur, the people who have the time in the market already have those systems in place. They've already spent that. They've already invested, right, in making those systems as best as they could possibly be. I just asked a simple question. What disadvantage do you think you would be at with no system, with all the tens of thousands of people that have a system of some kind, but yet the advice is given to you? You don't need that. Don't worry about it. And I get it. We all have to start from some place, but I do think you need a CRM to be able to compete. Like if this is a hobby, sure, you can get by with like sending out emails one at a time, DMing people one at a time. But ultimately, like you said, for mental health sake, like there's got to be some load that's taken off of you, especially as a solopreneur. Let technology do the work. So work out your process, because I'm definitely a big proponent of that. Working out what your process is and then having technology release the load is what we want to go for when it comes to building a business. So, but if you don't know what your
I
sales
feel like
process,
a bobblehead. I feel like a bobblehead. Like yes, yes.
right? Like if you don't know what you're doing in your sales process or to sell, yes, it's going to be chaotic. And yes, you're going to probably just be throwing in all this technology because you don't know what you want to do or what you needed to do. But when you work out your sales process, and this is something you need to do from the beginning, even if it's very basic, use technology to take the load off of you. It takes an average of 8 to 10 times for someone to see your brand, see it before they take an action. So like I have to be in front of someone and to see my picture. I'm doing this like crazy back and forth situation, like a TikTok. I don't know how I'm doing that, but anyway, yeah, like
Who wants to dance? I don't know. What
right.
are they dancing like? The chicken dance? I don't know.
Or they got to see my logo, or they got to see a combination before they take an action. Like the stress it puts upon my soul to have to do that manually for every single person that I want to attract is way too much.
No.
Right? No,
It's a hard no.
we don't want to do that. So having a CRM, if someone sees your brand and you have the technology that captures their information, that they can automatically be nurtured. You can provide or do those 8 to 10 touch points automatically. Now, when I work with clients, we talk about personal interaction within those touch points, because I do think that's very important. Don't just be a robot. That's not what I'm saying. But and again, this all goes into your sales process and what that looks like, but you're able to do that at scale. The reason why you're not making money is because you're not able to do things at scale. You're competing with folks, these $1 million people who have the systems. And guess what? Their systems probably aren't even that expensive. And that's the secret.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, and still the advice is being given, you don't need any of that. Just use pen and paper and Excel sheets and you'll be fine. I promise you, the person that told you that has that system set up in the back end. So at a minimum, you need a customer relationship management system. I can talk about bots and AI and all this other kind of stuff, but like ultimately at a minimum, you must have a CRM, because that honestly is going to give you a lot of information from like who's interacting with you, what people are buying, what people are not buying, how long did it take for you to make a sale from the time that person came into your ecosystem to the time they purchased something, anything. What are most people buying? Numbers do not lie. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. Okay? So You can say you feel or you think your most popular product is X, but I can go and look and see, and that tells me and you what it is, and we can make better decisions, right? We can make data-driven decisions based upon hard facts, specifically for your business.
And I want to take this a step further, and just because I come from a marketing point of view, and the marketing and the lead generation and sales are all very interwoven.
Yes.
And I want to give a good example of how I've been able to change that in my own business. And I've applied this to other people in my client roster as well. So there's a system that I use within my DMs. And what we noticed was that at the end, we were getting high conversion, which is really great, right? But the problem was I wasn't having enough people getting into that end bit to convert. I mean, why would I only want one of four converting when I could have 25 of 100?
Yeah.
Right? So this is the math, right? So we're like, why are there only four? I'm just using easy numbers because math is not my forte. Why am I being happy with only 4 when I could increase that to 100 and convert 25 instead of 1? So we reverse. Okay, well, that's doing good. Well, that's doing good. Those percentages are great. That number's awesome. I love, whoa. First step. And this is a true story, everyone. I want you to understand this is the first story, the true story. The first step, initial DM, was only getting a response rate of 3 to 5%, which is pathetic. Like, that's a really shitty response rate. So I was like, okay, well, obviously there's a problem here. And I review my analytics weekly, if not bi-weekly, if I miss a week, whatever. But like, I review it. I take a look because you don't want to be too involved, but you also don't want to be too standoff. It's a balance. I tweaked it. Pulled a bunch of strings, tweaked some ways that I wanted to approach my initial messages. And all of a sudden, I'm at 25%. That's a substantial increase. Now, I want to get it higher, obviously, but this is within the span of a month. I went from 3 to 5% response rate to 25% response rate. Now, those 4 people, no, it's not 100 yet.
Yeah.
But now it's like 40, 45. Yeah. That's a significant difference. The math matters. I hate saying that. The math matters. So much in your sales pipeline, in your marketing, and all the things that you're doing. If you hear people saying KPIs, data, analytics, they matter.
Yes.
If you're not tracking that, please start tracking that. Use a CRM to do some of the behind the scenes stuff. There are CRMs out there that are free. There are tools that are free that can be used as CRMs that aren't marketed as CRMs. Talk to someone like Krystal to find out what that is. Now, that said, there's something I know. I mean, we've covered so much. It's kind of, I'm excited. I'm now pumped. I want to go look at my numbers. But there's got to be something I haven't asked you that you want to share with the world. So I'm going to give you the chance to do that. But before you do that, you think about that, because I know that sometimes it can be like, what the hell am I going to share with the world? No, Krystal's an expert. She's got it covered. I want to let you guys know that this type of conversation here, the conversation that takes you from point A to point B in your business in a way that is very meaningful and effective for growth, it happens every week. Okay? Subscribe. Join the conversation. Send us a message. Comment. We're here. We're not going anywhere. And we want to help. So join the conversation, ask questions, give us your own tips and tricks, and always look for the next video that's coming out, because, like I say, every week. And you can get a notification. So systematize your stuff. Systematize your learning, right? Subscribe. Oh, look, Shauna's got a new video. This week it's going to be on client avatars. Sweet. With that, I'm going to give the stage over to Krystal, and I want you to tell the world what they need to hear today.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go from the business perspective from the very beginning, and that is the most important parts or aspects of your business for you to get it off the ground and have it be sustainable are marketing and sales. Marketing and sales. And that may not be what some folks want to hear, but I'm here to tell you that it is of the utmost importance. That is how not only do you get in business, but you stay in business by continuously staying on top of your marketing and then refining your sales process. And I know that a lot of people, they don't like social media. They don't like to put themselves out there. There are solutions for that type of stuff. There's faceless marketing. There are tools for every for every different type of entrepreneur personality type for you to get the word out about your business. And don't be afraid to try new things. As a matter of fact, I think you should. And don't get married to one way, because the one constant thing in the world, but also in entrepreneurship, is change. And so what works today might not work tomorrow. And it's important for you to always have a plan B. And that might just be the project manager in me, the engineer in me, but like usually I have a plan B, C, D, E, and F. But usually at least three solutions all at one time, because I know that at any time a certain strategy could stop working. And so I might need to pivot. And so I just want to reiterate and emphasize that the most important piece of your business, or the foundation, really is marketing and sales, and everything else kind of sprouts up from there. Because if you do not exchange goods and services for currency, then by definition you don't have a business. And yeah, it's one of the fundamental things that I go over with my clients, in that we have to figure out the strategies that work for you, for what you're doing. And it's never a one size fits all. And I want to make that clear. It's not just one strategy that's going to be out there that's going to be the thing. It's usually a compilation of knowledge that you've tweaked to fit what it is that you're doing, your industry, your niche, your business, and the problem that you can solve. And the way that I typically help folks do that, or one of the ways, is teaching them, like I said before, about being profitable without focusing so much on growing your social media following. And so we have, or I'm providing you guys with the how to earn 4 figures in 30 days with less than 1,000 followers, because you don't need a huge social media following to be profitable online. You just need to know who your target audience is and have a product or service that speaks to them, aka an irresistible offer for them. And so you can scan the QR code, and I know the link to that will be in the show notes. But again, it's just really, really, really important to be of the mindset that I need to be connecting with not just people, but my people. And the how to earn 4 figures in 30 days with less than 1,000 followers is a way to teach you how to do that.
Well, if there was ever time for a mic drop, now would be the time, because I couldn't have said it better myself. I will add, and this is an addition, so do not, like, if you haven't been taking notes, rewatch this, take notes. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, this has been like almost a training session. And I highly advise you to revisit this, take notes, revisit it again, because there's always going to be some new thing that comes out. And the only thing that I'm going to add is the concept of following the invisible hand. This can apply to a lot of different things in marketing and sales. And that can be your client base and what they might be enjoying one step to the next, understanding that the only constant is change. And then the following the invisible hand can also be just this idea of thinking about trends in your own niche as well, and just understanding that you are going to have to be adaptable. You are going to have to understand your numbers. And when you see dips, little dips are fine. That's fine. That's normal. You're going to get a little bit of this, and you can respond and react in effective ways. But if you see like a solid dip, or if you see a trajectory, and this is math, right? Little dips, but on the upward, no problem. Little dips, but then they start going like this, that's a problem. So, right, we want to make sure that we're understanding what that means, and we're able to respond adaptively. With that, if you need to jump into a conversation with either of us about this, if you're like, okay, I understand the concept, but I want to get deeper, book a call. All the links are in the show notes. You can go to shaunalee.com, SHAUNALEIGH.com, and you can schedule a call with me as well. And Krystal's booking links and everything are in the show notes as well. So you can connect with us anytime. As I said before, we're not going anywhere. I'm going to leave you with a quote from a kid's book called Bud. I don't remember who the author is, but I read it to my kids, and I just, one of the final sentences in this book, it's all about this kid who, this rhinoceros kid, by the way, is so passionate about gardening and mud and compost and bugs, but his parents are very prim and proper, and so are his grandparents, and they're very much like straight line. They have a plastic ficus, not a real one, like that sort of thing. And this kid loves mud. And then by the end, I'm not going to tell you the problem and everything. You should read it though. Like whether you're an adult, whether you have kids, it doesn't matter. It's adorable. At the end, his grandfather says, change is inevitable, except from a vending machine. And I think that's one of the funniest things that I've ever read in a kid's book. So with that, avoid the vending machines, but be prepared for change in life. We'll see you next time, guys. Chat soon.